Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and it's that time of year again. Well, we've already started actually, but where we're doing the top 10 best figures of 2024. Now, of course, I'm gonna let biases and preferences and subjective stuff creep in here. There's no way to not do that for a list like this, but this list is not my favorite figures list. This is the top 10 best figures list, as best as I can determine it at this time. It's changed many times. It could change right now if I wanted to. It'll change every time I look at it if I don't just leave it alone. And so if you guys think something is off, or there's something you would have added or something you would have removed, let me know in the comment section below and we'll talk about it. But these are the figures I determined to be the best quality overall for what you expect, what you're paying, that whole thing. Like I said, as best as I can figure it right now. So we're going to do a few honorable mentions and then we're going to get right into it. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Okay, so like I said, we're going to start with the honorable mentions. I have 3 this time. The first one I want to talk about is the SH Figure Arts SS Fies Kamen Rider figure. Now, I think this guy came out not this year, but I didn't look at him until this year, so I'm putting him on this list because it's my list and I want to, and it's that good of a figure that it needed to get mentioned somewhere. But I am pretty sure it released prior to this year, so I didn't want to put him higher on the list, but easily one of the best looking, best posing, best assorted figures that you can get. It's a really excellent thing. If you think it looks cool, if you're into Kamen Rider, or if you just like the way it looks, you should check it out. And then coming in after that, we have the Dinobot 2 figure from Transarts. I decided I did not want to put third-party figures on the top 10 proper list, or list proper. It just felt wrong to me since they're not playing quite by the same rules, and so comparing them against each other felt wrong. But I did want to get him on here in some capacity, so here he is in the honorable mentions. And the same thing goes for Not Illidan from Hero Toys, or Memory Toys, or whatever it was at the time he came out. Absolutely wonderful figure. Excellent, excellent, excellent thing. You should buy it if you're interested. But again, third party, not quite playing by the same rules, so I wanted to separate them while still getting them on the list. Okay, starting the list with number 10, we have the Revoltech Catwoman. Now, the thing about this figure is it's excellent. It poses really well. It's probably the best posing Catwoman figure ever, and Revoltech actually did a surprisingly good, like better than average job by far with this. However, it is the Arkham version, and it doesn't look like it at all. It looks like some anime version with the same suit details, so there is that to consider. And then she also has the unnaturally wide hips, which, hey, I know you might not mind, but again, it's not super accurate to the source material, so I didn't want to put her higher on the list, but she's easily one of the best posing figures and well-executed figures that you can come by these days. So if you're at all inclined to get something like this, you might want to consider this one. Coming in at number 9, we have 2 different figures. I'm putting them together because it's my list and I can do it. It's a way of getting extra stuff in here without having really high numbers. It's the Mafex Nightfall Batman and the Nightfall Bane. Now, before you start saying all of the things wrong with Bane, he's got big feet and a big head, and Batman's not perfect. I know, I get all of that. But these 2 figures do actually look really good put together. Even if you don't put them together, they're fine, but they do look really good put together. They're really fun to pose. Bane is surprisingly fun to pose. He poses really, really well. And yes, there are flaws. That's why they're not higher on the list. But I think if you're a Batman fan, these are a couple figures you should pick up. They are not without their flaws, I want to be clear. Even for me personally, I don't enjoy them fully, but they are really enjoyable figures, and they are really well executed for the most part, and you're gonna have fun posing them around, for sure. And they have a nice level of finish too. They're not like the world's best things ever, but they're definitely good enough that I'm comfortable putting them on the list, and I think if you are inclined to get something like this, these guys should be on your radar. Coming in at number 8, we have the SH Figure Arts Tanjiro, and this is not a character I'm familiar with really at all. I have no personal connection to it at all, so you know I'm being honest when it goes on the list. It's just really well executed. He's got some articulation that is the best of its type. The baggy clothes are hard to execute, and this figure is executed exceptionally well. On top of that, it has a pretty good paint job that goes with the sculpt and articulation, and it's well outfitted with accessories. So I don't think people who are into this could really want for too much more. Hell, I don't want for too much more, and I'm not into it at all. Maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe I would. You guys can let me know about that. But in terms of the engineering and execution of the figure, it's really hard to do better than what they did here. In at number 7, we have the Revoltech Spider-Man 2.0. Now, I understand it's still a Revoltech figure and it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but what they set out to do, they did exceedingly well here. It poses incredibly. It is by far the best posing Spider-Man figure you can get. Without a doubt. Does it have too much gapping or too many angular sections or things like that? Yeah, probably. Some of them aren't necessary to achieve the posing. Some of them are. It's a trade-off. But it is a higher quality figure than many of the older Revoltechs, especially the first Spider-Man figure. They don't have those QC issues anymore. This guy's painted really nicely. The sculpt is solid, other than the stylistic choices of being angular and whatnot in some places. But even then, it's kind of excusable since it's the Spider Armor version. But yeah, you're not going to do too much better for a Spider-Man figure that you want to pose around and really get into dynamic poses. This is the best, by far. It's not even close. And so if you're into that sort of thing, this is the one for you. For sure, you do have to have some trade-offs, but I think they're worth it. Coming in at number 6, we have the Storm Collectibles Fei Long. Now this is easily one of Storm's best Street Fighter releases. It has basically everything you need for a Fei Long figure, all of the accessories, all of the sculpt that matches what it's supposed to, all of the paint, everything you want. This is a great, maybe the best Fei Long figure ever. Now you can debate whether or not Jada did it better at a lower price. Better is not the right word. Better for the price. You can argue that either way, that's fine. But this figure is excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. There's really only one drawback in that it has wider hips than it should have, but once you pose him, those aren't noticeable. But he does pose really well, and he looks really, really good doing it. Has the proper accessories. Like I said, the range of motion is really nice on this guy. It's one of the best Street Fighter action figures that has been released. Now, there are a lot at this point, but this should definitely be in your collection if you are into this sort of thing. Coming in at number 5, to many people's delight, I'm sure, we have the Mafex Daredevil. In my other top 10 list, a lot of people are saying, why didn't Daredevil show up? And it's simply because the Mafex figures are expensive, and this Daredevil is not one that's exceptionally detailed. There's not a whole lot going on, so I didn't feel right putting him higher up on this list or in the other list at all, but he is great. When Mafex is on, they're on. There still are a few issues here and there. If Mafex doesn't change their hip design soon, I'm gonna send somebody a sternly written letter, I'll tell you. But otherwise, this guy is pretty darn good. I don't think you can get a better Daredevil. He poses really well, comes with really good accessories, and looks really, really nice. I think the only way to top this guy is if they re-release him with the heavy black shading. That would be awesome. But yeah, this guy's excellent. If you're a Daredevil fan, get this. I don't really have any major gripes for this thing. It is in the Mafex style, of course, so you have to be okay with that, but otherwise, yeah, sign me up. He's a great one. Coming in at number 4, we have the SH Figure Arts Yusuke, and this guy is kind of like he came out of nowhere. Bandai picked up all these licenses recently, and half of them have been just floundering in terms of the quality. The action figures have been disappointing as all hell. But this one, I mean, it's a popular anime, and I'm glad people are getting good figures, but it is way better than it has any right to be. Or I should say, it's as good as it should be, because all the figures a company like Bandai is releasing should be like this. It really leaves you wanting for nothing. It looks accurate, it's well executed, it poses well, it looks good posed, it comes with the appropriate accessories, including effect parts. It's everything it needs to be. Now, don't take that to mean that it couldn't be better. That's never the case. Anything that you have to make with a budget could be better, but for reasonable standards, which is accepting that it has some sort of budget in designing it, this thing is about as good as it could have been. It's a really excellent release. So I know at this point a lot of the younger people may not be interested in an IP like this, but it's really a shame because it's a pretty cool IP and it's a really, really good figure. In at number 3, we have the Marvel Select Captain America. Now again, this figure is not a perfect thing. I know people like to, on my top 10 list, complain about any figure that's not perfect, and on my bottom 10 list, they complain about any figure that has anything good. There's no way for me to win here. But this figure, for the money, is one of the best things you can buy. You're getting a lot for your money. It's an all-new sculpt, loads of accessories, it's all painted. The only real downside is it's not the most well-articulated figure, though for Marvel Select, it does articulate really well. In fact, the only real downside I can think of is that his one hip got really loose for me. And maybe yours will, maybe it won't, I don't know. But I'll take a figure that looks really good and comes with a bunch of stuff that ends up being a little bit loose than one that just is a pile of garbage for basically the same price. Now, that's not to say every Hasbro Captain America is a pile of garbage. I'm exaggerating, I'm being hyperbolic, but this is probably the best Captain America figure you can get. I guess the one downside is it's in a 7-inch scale. So, you know, that's not going to work for a lot of people's collections, and I get that, but it does go to show what can be done for a very reasonable price compared to other companies. Coming in at number 2, I have to include the Flame Toys Megazord, guys. It is just so darn well executed. There's nothing more for me to say than that, although I'm going to because that's what videos are about. I have to talk more, but it is that good. The price is nuts. I know they're super expensive, but you're getting every bit of your money's worth with this line. This company puts out really high quality products, and this one might be their best ever. The amount of detail packed into this, the amount of care and thoughtfulness in designing it and executing it is unparalleled. It's so incredibly well done. It may not be your thing stylistically, or I mean, maybe you don't care about the IP or just don't want to spend that much. That's all valid, that's fine. But for the money, it's awesome. It's so well done. There are no things that I would change in terms of like quality or that kind of thing. It's just like stylistically I would do that differently or whatever, but you're not going to do better than this for your money. It's so incredibly well executed. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have the Jada Street Fighter figures. Now, just like I said for number 2, you can't do better for your money there. It's the same thing here, they're just at a much lower price point, so they're way more accessible and farther ahead of everybody else in that category. So that's why these guys get number 1. In fact, I think they got number 1 last year also. I wouldn't be surprised. Jada's doing what every company should be doing. They're giving us the absolute most they can for their budget. Rather than minimizing what they can put out for their budget, they're maximizing it. We're getting incredibly good figures for a very reasonable price. Are there things that could be better or changed? Sure. But do they need to be? Definitely not. The only thing I would like to see that is consistently better would be the shading applications and then the consistency in plastic color. Now, apparently most people aren't having those kinds of problems. Some people do. So yeah, there are flaws, and it's not a perfect line of figures. Nothing is, especially at $26. But the thing is that for the, or $25 actually for these guys, for the $25, what you're getting is phenomenal compared to anything else, even close in this category. It's not even remotely close. These guys blow them all out of the water. They pose wonderfully most of the time. You know, we have a few hiccups here and there. They come with effect part accessories, interchangeable hands, interchangeable heads. They are painted, not anywhere near as much as I would like, but they do have shading and paint. That goes a long way. And then the sculpts. Again, softer than I might like personally, but still really well done. Not perfect in every case. Maybe Bison's legs are a little strange, you know, things like that, but still, it's not even remotely close to any other brand at this price point. They're so well done and so cared about by the people making them that it shows in the product. They don't feel like just churned out garbage coming from a giant corporation. They feel like somebody who's designing these things actually cares. And the people that are above those people, giving them the okay, are allowing them to do it. And it's a nice thing to see action figures that feel like passion projects again. I don't know if it was this video or a different one that I mentioned that. But this is it. Like, these are a passion project for the people making them, and that's why the people buying them are so happy with them. So yeah, if you guys haven't gotten into this line yet, you really need to. It's a thing of beauty to see action figures that are enjoyable again, and that have been cared about in design. Okay guys, that's my list of the top 10, actually like 13 or 20, I don't know, depending on how you break it down, best figures of 2024. Again, I'm sure many of you disagree with many things I said here, so if you do, let's talk about it in the comment section below. There are lots of good figures out there, and obviously I don't review everything, so if your list includes things that I didn't even review, hey, I'd love to see it. maybe I'll review something like that next year. But this is the best I could do, because obviously I can't look at everything every year. But guys, that's it. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos basically every single day, and I do have thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.